Sometimes you have to do that because the easy challenge is one you'll get lazy with. The big challenge gets you hungry.
Oh, how the tables turn.
That's a heavy topic, and we need to focus on that. If not for yourself, then do it for your children.
Black book is in the
Hey, Black book.
Men talk, black book.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2018 Innovation Award winner, Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Epic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers. It's sponsored by BLKMEN Care, and being part of that movement. That team has reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And as always, I'd like to say at this time of day, of this day of the week, you're watching Black Men Can Talk with myself, Kofi Sadat, and Kofi Morris. And it is a show where Black Canadian men come together to have real, unfiltered conversations about life, culture, and community. Speaking about community, what is up, family? And I love the T-shirt.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm good, man. Happy Sunday. Good to see you, family, and everybody out there in the virtual world tuning in today. So, feeling great. Again, happy Sunday, man.
Yeah.
Happy Sunday. Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, so before we get to it, how did you overcome the snowstorm we had a few days ago?
Ooh, bro, that's all I'm gonna say. It's so interesting because I had a workshop downtown. I was doing a training on anti-Black racism and anti-Indigenous racism. And so my partner had set it up. So big up to Essie. But I was like, yo, are you sure this thing's going to be on? I did not want to leave that house. So believe it or not, I got to give kudos to the organization because we had over 40 people come out for the training.
What?
In that storm. And it was like crazy,
Where was it being held? What main intersection?
It's Young and Bloor.
Oh.
So we come from the east side, all of us. So to go down there, I was just like, "Are you sure?" And the last minute she said, "Yeah, they're about it." I'm like, "Okay, let's do this." Yeah, it was very difficult to navigate the storm. And I think we had a storm the next day as well. But how about yourself? How did you navigate it? I know it's a lot of heavy lifting with that snow.
Well, some interesting things. So it happened. Did it happen on Thursday? Yeah, it happened on Thursday, Wednesday night, Thursday-ish. I intentionally that week said Thursday, I'm going to plan nothing on my agenda so I can just focus and get things done.
Mm-hmm.
And I got up, I saw this, so I said, okay, I want to get a number of things done before 9 o'clock, before I go out shoveling the snow, saying at least I'm going out with positive energy. I got some things done. Not like I have to go to the show. I go, I got all this stuff to do. So I got out there. I didn't have to go anywhere out that day. Shoveled about 2 or 3 times. The best thing about that snow, it was light snow. It was not heavy snow.
True.
And I'm a little bit of a crazy cat at times. I always like to I like to go to places that are usually busy, that on days like that are not. So I have a bank branch that is close to me that I usually don't go to because it's way too busy. Mm-hmm. Just way too busy.
Yeah.
So you know what? Let me go there and see what's going on today. Go in there. There's no one there.
Ghost town.
No one in line. It was beautiful. I had a chance to chat with a Tyler who I hadn't seen in a long time. So we caught up. We chatted for like half an hour and there were no customers. It was like it was half an hour and then came back home and relaxed. But I got a lot of stuff accomplished because there's just a lot less distractions and going out there. So it was a real, I thought it was a blessing. Got some exercise in.
Yeah.
Got some things done. So it was a good thing. Kofi Morris is here.
Greetings, brother Kofi. How are you doing?
Physically, can we?
Peace and blessings, family. All is aligned. All is well. Yeah, thankful and thankful, feeling good energy coming into the space. I'm just hearing the brothers talking about the recent weather and what have you, and how I guess you were navigating it and what have you.
Yeah, yeah. What about
How
yourself?
did,
How
how
did you
did you how did you navigate that day?
Interestingly enough, I was actually working that day, so my day started out with clearing the snow, right? Um, that morning to get out of my driveway, but I filmed some of it. I posted some of it online just to kind of share what was happening. But no, I laugh because I've been talking to people about realities of what we grew up in,
Yeah.
like in the 80s in this country. That was not to say a common regular day, but
Right.
that snowfall is something that we grew up with. So I look at it. I wasn't shocked or anything like that, but I do acknowledge the fact that we've been spoiled by the weather over the last couple of years. So
Right.
these things become things, but regular snowfall in mid 80s and stuff like that in Canada, in Toronto was that, right? So
Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. But you know what? You know what was interesting though? Very interesting. I'm up around, getting ready to leave for my workshop around 7 in the morning, and I see my youngest son come downstairs. He's still in high school, and he's like on his knees. He's like, "Thank you." I'm like, "What's wrong with this guy?" School was actually canceled in
Canceled it
Toronto.
was.
They
Yeah.
never cancel school in
Well,
Toronto, so I knew it was a major storm.
Well, actually, very interesting. Two stories to add on that. When I was shoveling snow in the morning, there were three little kids that were walking to school. And I said, "Hey, be safe, be safe." 3 minutes later, they're walking back. I go, "What happened to school's been canceled?" But believe it or not, schools in the Durham region were not canceled.
they were not canceled. They never canceled. That's the
Sorry,
thing. If you
Durham.
grew up in if you grew up in Durham, just know they do not close that school. You do not. You got parents got babysitting. Parents
Kansas.
got babysitting from K to 12 straight through the year. They close. The schools don't close.
Yep.
Wow,
And they
that
didn't close
is
that day at all.
crazy,
But
guys.
buses will stop. School ain't closing. Them Durham teachers are.
Wow, that's harsh, man.
It's
Could you now
reality.
just imagine you're a teacher from Mississauga who's teaching in Durham that day?
Oh yeah, it happens.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and
Calling in sick.
the GO was definitely shut down. The GO trains, and I heard there was an accident. A GO train hit a snow plow and stuff. Like,
Ouch.
yeah, man, listen, man, that weather was not was not
Ouch.
easy. Yeah,
Well, it's actually funny. This past week was, I think, I don't know what year anniversary, but the anniversary of the day that Mayor Mel Lastman called in the army to dig out a snowstorm. Where you guys remember that?
oh yeah, of course.
That was like, I don't know, 20 something, whatever years ago. Maybe I'll find out in the break. That was the anniversary this week of that happening.
Okay.
Yeah,
See that?
So maybe it makes sense. Before we go to break, quick wins. Who has a quick win from the week? Each one of us a quick win for the week.
Paul, you can jump in there if you want.
man. I was just saying, Kofi, you could jump in there. I'm thinking, you know what? I would say, you know what? One of the wins that I had is that I do a lot of work, of course, from an Afrocentric perspective, as well as anti-Black racism. But interestingly enough, part of the training that I did this week, we were in need of an Indigenous facilitator that could speak, from that perspective. And I met a brother through. I want to big up this guy because we'll probably have him on one day. But through Jay Rebel, one of our mutual contacts, I was asking Jay Rebel because he does a lot of work with hip hop, as well as Indigenous learnings and Afrocentric learning. So he said, "Yeah, I have somebody." And you know what? It was just so beautiful how we clicked. You know what I mean? Like, so I want to really, be happy for that win because my co-facilitator, who was really running the whole show, was having some challenges finding, an Indigenous facilitator. But what it ended up making me recognize is that I need to make more connections in that community.
Yes.
Because there's so much alliance, like in terms of,
yes,
similar perspectives, but also different things that we can learn from each other. So I'm going to definitely make sure that this year, I make more contact. And I also was able to reconnect with another person who's Afro-Indigenous that I grew up with from grade 9. So, reestablishing some of those connections. But yeah, it was a win to meet that the brother. His name is Jeff, and just be in his presence, and really good alignments. And I learned a lot from him during the workshop. So looking forward.
You know what? Before Brother Kofi jumps in, I'll jump in. Quick one. I'm getting. It looks like in the next few weeks I'm going to be sharing some of my manhood journey with younger men and also younger women, which I'm really excited about. And especially with the younger men, I've been finding out more that there is a loneliness crisis amongst many of our young boys and young men, and basically chat about that. And then, Paul, you talk about the Indigenous. I speak it that one day you had the experience I had a few weeks before the pandemic hit, where I went to the Northwest Territories and spent a week with our Indigenous brothers and sisters there.
Yes.
Oh, it was amazing. You would I want to go back. It was so amazing.
Yeah,
it was so fun. I speak that you have that opportunity. If you're going, I'm going to hit your ride for me because I want to go back.
There you go. All right. All good.
Brother Kofi Morris, one win before we hit the break.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, for those that don't know, we call it the African Employment Month is upon us. So, AKA Black Heritage Month, AKA African Heritage Month, AKA the Black Revolution Month. A lot of calls have been coming in, for speaking engagements. And one of them had come in from an elder of mine recently, and it started out as one thing. And I said, okay, let's, I'm available, like A, B, C, and D. He started to book. And then he contacted me back to say, it's not this audience, it's actually a different audience, right? Mm-hmm. And that audience is more in the space that some of my focus has been in, which is working with staff, right? Working with people that are working with young people, working with people that are working with brothers in challenging circumstances, sisters, etc., and families. So it actually shifted in that regard. But I definitely look at these as opportunities to, you call certain things in to your experience, and then when you start to see them reflect themselves back, you're on the right track. So good. Definitely looking forward to the month and some of the speaking engagements that are going to come, and the various audiences that I'm going to have the opportunity to connect with, which is amazing.
Nice, love it.
Let me ask, Brother Kofi, are you getting the same amount, less or more of speaking requests during the month of February compared to the past?
Well, the joke is that I know some more calls are going to come in probably within this week, but and I laugh, but I also say it with there's a heaviness to my laugh as well. Why? Is because oftentimes what I found in the last years, I'm sure maybe you guys could echo the same, is a lot of these engagements and these events, whether it's African drumming or speaking, they come very close to the month, or they come the week of, and it's unheard of in my perspective, right? In other experiences, in other communities, in other settings, the corporate setting, you're not booked a week in advance for a speaking engagement, right? Or 2 weeks in advance, or the week of. But in our community, for whatever reason, it's justifiable that people can be booking speakers and what have you this close to the month. So I would say to you that it's probably a little less than previous, but I do still anticipate calls are probably still going to come in from this week.
Oh, for sure.
But I think it's somewhat less.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Which is a conversation down in the future, because I think that leads to another conversation. What's the reason for that? But we are going to take a break. And when we come back from break, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping. And we have another we always have interesting conversation topics. We got another one. And I have a feeling this may be a two-parter. It may be a two-parter. But we will be back in 15 seconds.
Check out The Morning Vibe on Mondays and Fridays at 9 a.m. Eastern.
It's hosted by Dr. Vibe and Ryan Knight.
They dig into important subjects.
And sometimes they bring on people you definitely need to know about.
It's conversations that matter.
So make sure you tune in.
Mondays and Fridays, 9 a.m. Eastern.
We'll see you.
Yes, you'll see with myself and Ryan Knight tomorrow morning, because we're on Sunday evening right now. We're going live. So let's do some housekeeping. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack. advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm a part of, email me dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. If you've got a question, go on your whatever digital device, go to your favorite browser, callme.road.com, and put your name in, follow the instructions, and give us a ring. So, Mr. Kofi Morris, want to talk about Black men and peace, and I've expanded it to Black men and peace versus happiness. Real talk about mental health and healing. So, Kofi, so I'm going to let you lead the conversation. I have got so many conversation topics on this one. This could be a two-parter, but I'll let you start with your commentary.
Absolutely. No, I think once again, it's a privilege to have these platforms where we can explore these topics, because some of them are so near and dear to some of our experiences. And I say that as time progresses, we'll be able to tap into broader audiences, because there's so many people that would like to chime in on this conversation.
Mhm.
I thought of this piece of just starting very light to say, when we speak about this piece, pardon the pun, we speak about this piece about peace. If you were to think about a peaceful day experience in the life of a brother, right? If you were to just paint a picture, what would a peaceful day look like in your life right now? Now, I'm putting that out to the listeners. I'm putting that out to our brothers right here. I want you just to take it in for a moment. Think of, what does a peaceful day look like? In a little while, we're going to be going to a clip. Hopefully, Dr. Vibe, you got the clip. And it's more from a little bit of a comedic standpoint. But, perhaps we'll speak about that later. But just looking at this piece around, what would a peaceful day in your experience look like right now? So I'm going to put that out to the brothers, and for anyone who's listening, I'd love to hear it in the comments. And even without painting the picture of the whole day, what are 3 things that would be really important for you to experience in that day for it to be a peaceful day?
Okay.
So you can either paint the picture
or do you want
of
me
the
to
day.
start?
Yeah, you can go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay. In no particular order, doing something that benefits myself in a positive way. So it could be like exercising, could even be when the weather is warmer, but even, just getting outside, even for 15 minutes, enjoying the outdoor air. Another thing is doing something that helps someone move forward that day. And that could be anything, like even sending a text message and saying thank you, etc. That would be another thing. And at least 15 minutes of Dr. Vibe time by myself, and just breathe and meditate.
Yeah,
That's my start.
I think I'm aligned with the first one in terms of definitely, getting out. I find it creates a sense of peace, even when the weather's challenging. But being outside of the home has a sense of peace and calmness. I would say also, for me, sharing a good laugh. And that laugh could be with somebody, or could be something that I'm watching on my own. But the endorphins and everything like that, the happiness. And then also I agree with having some time alone just to breathe, right? Just to kind of meditate, breathe, and think, because there's so much coming at all of us all the time. But to actually sit and think and make the plans in your mind, or just think about things. I think those are the things for me, so the breathing meditation, the getting outside, and the humor. I like those things. That'd be a blessed day for me.
Just want to interrupt here. Jonathan Shaw is saying, good evening, men. Good evening, Juice Man. Hope you are fine and safe.
Good evening, as the Jamaicans would say. Good evening, my brother.
Peace.
Kofi, do you want to continue? I can jump in if you want.
For sure. So I'll share a couple pieces, right? And some of them are once again similar to what some of the brothers have shared. And I want, as the listeners are listening, I want you to take in some of what you're hearing. And if you were to kind of envision what some of these things look like for yourself, because if you identify with some of the things that we've said, if you can see them for yourself, even if you're not experiencing them right now, you could see them in your mind's eye, right? Take a moment with that. Nature was one of the things that came to mind, which was in alignment with some of what was said, right? Just time in nature, whether that's outside by water, whether that's hearing birds chirp, whether that's walking in a wooded area, in a forest, whatever the case may be, right? There's some aspect within that brings a level of peace. The joyfulness that was mentioned, right? The ability to experience joy, and also joy with others somehow, right? And experience enjoying with others. So that could be an elder at a bus stop, right? Or that could be a YouTube video that I'm watching, right? But somehow joy is experienced, but also perhaps in tandem with others. And then lastly, what was discussed was time with self. But the thing that came to me to say is time with my balanced self, because time with myself, if I'm not at, because we're using the word, if I'm not at peace, let's just say, let's say I didn't sleep well, or let's say I'm hungry, or let's say I'm angry, or I'm frustrated, or, so time with self,
right?
But time with myself in a balanced space, right? When I'm in a balanced space. So I'm putting it out there to brothers that are listening right now to think of, when is the last time you experienced a peaceful day? When's the last time you could say,
like 24 hours, or even put like, I've had a peaceful day today. It ain't over yet, but I've had a peaceful day today.
Well, listen, don't put anything on the man's day. We'll say
by the way, before we go forward, Jonathan has his definition of a peaceful day. He says, chilling in a hammock in the backyard garden, feeding koi fish in the pond, listening to the waterfall on the flagstone.
I love that day. I love that day, brother.
Kofi, what was your question again?
So when was the last time that you experienced, what you'd call a peaceful day? So let's go with what you said, because let's use day as sun up to sundown, right? Let's just use day, simplify it, sun up to sundown. So if today for you was a peaceful day, this was the most recent one for you.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Vibe, that's amazing. That's great.
Yeah.
And just putting that out there, right?
I intentionally, and I have a question here I want to ask everybody. I intentionally look for peace. And it's actually leads off to another conversation we may need to have one day. I was chatting with a sister, and I won't get into it, but I asked her, about a lot of single Black women out there, and I say, what is she hearing from them? And she's saying that a lot of our sisters are choosing peace versus relationship.
Ooh.
So that's a whole other conversation, but that's a whole other topic. I wanted to slide that in the conversation, but that leads to a whole other conversation topic. But for me,
I think it's related. I think it's related because I know on the other side of that is a lot of men are also choosing peace instead of being in relationships as well. Right? So I think there's a balance that's probably going on there, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for me, I have a lot of days of peace. My mindset is, Mr. Morris, is that I think I don't have a bad day. I may have bad moments, but I don't have a 24-hour bad day.
Facts.
Just me. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Facts. No apology necessary. That's beautiful. I think one of the things that just came to me to put out there is, wouldn't that kind of mean that we want the same thing? Wouldn't that mean that man and woman that we actually want the same thing? And let me backtrack it even more to say, one of the statements that I heard an elder say one time is is that it's one of the universal things that we we all can say that we want. Right? It's actually a universal thing that we can say that we want peace. Now, I mean, there are people on a battlefield right now. There's people that are at war. There are people that, I got a warrior on my shirt right now. There are people that are in spaces that they have to go to war.
Right.
But the reality is, if a lot of us could say, okay, what if you could have peace instead right now? Would you rather want that?
Oh, I'm bursting at the seams to ask a question, but I'll let this section finish.
Right. So it's, like love is the universal language, peace too is the universal language that perhaps it's the challenge that we're facing as men and women is coming to terms with the fact we want that same thing. Yeah. The reality is how we get there.
Yeah. I think you're right. So it's sometimes, how do we get there, and how do we define what that peace looks like?
Different for everybody.
Because like, just a simple fact that we were just talking about, that sometimes peace means my alone time, right? And being apart, versus if somebody comes in my cipher, right, or my realm, then my peace is now compromised, right? So for us who are parents, and we know we have a little lock on our door, right? It almost seems the second I click that lock, I hear knocking at the door, right? And they're like, why do you want the door locked? I just want peace.
Because I want my peace.
I just want peace. What are you doing in there? Why are you just laying down by yourself? I just want peace, right? So I think that I would think about a challenge would be, how do you find peace amongst chaos, right? Sometimes that's another thing you want to figure out, right? So
adding on to that, there are some people who love chaos.
Oh yeah.
That's the vibe. Jeez. Come on now.
There's some people who love chaos. They love the whole area of chaos, which is, again, another conversation topic. Right? Another one. But so, Brother Kofi, do I have permission to put a question up on the screen for all of us, including the audience?
Please.
Here's a question. If you had to choose today, would you rather be happy or at peace? Why that choice in this season in your life? Oh, Brother Paul, I saw him go back on that.
Listen, I'm going back. I might need something stronger than water to answer this one.
Look, I'm speaking one day.
Don't turn this session into drink champs right now.
Listen, it'll just be lemon, a little something strong, a little lemon. That's what I'm talking about. Lemon.
No, but you know what? The line of conversation at peace, I said, you know what? This needs to be done live with an audience. Doing it virtually is only going to do it so much. So the day we have a live thing, I think this topic here could go be a whole, and be good for men and women.
Absolutely.
So would you rather be happy or at peace?
Brother Kofi, what do you say?
So I think with the part 2, maybe we'll get a chance to watch that clip, because it ties into kind of what I'm going to share. And I think it would be good to hear, and we can go to the phone lines for the second half of the show if there's anyone that wants to call in to chime in on this. But there's a thinking that, in my mind anyway, that one can be experienced without the other. Right? One can be experienced without the other. And, in my short time being on this planet, my thinking is that since that's the truth, since that's the case, can I still have a little bit of one if I chose the other? And I think that's possible.
Right.
I think that's possible. So for me, I'm choosing peace because my happiness is going to be encoded in there somehow. My happiness is taken care of. But it's also because I've chosen peace. So let me be clear about why I say that. I love what you said about the the peace in the chaos. Can you experience peace in the chaos? To me, that's what this whole thing about transcendence is, or what they call awakening is, or, even in Christ consciousness, they talk about these things, which is finding peace in the midst of chaos is actually a higher level of peace, because it's easy to obtain peace sitting on the mountaintop by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There's no child knocking on that door, right? There's, there could be something up there that you might experience, but by yourself, sitting in a Buddha stance,
Mm-hmm.
but doing that in a troubled space, doing that in the midst of, poverty, doing that in the midst of challenges and all these experiences, chaos, war happening around you, to me is a higher level of consciousness, right? So I would definitely choose peace,
Yeah.
But also acknowledging that within that, my happiness is manifest. But it's because I chose it. It's because I choose it. So even in the midst of challenges in life, the fact that I could look and be like, okay, what am I supposed to obtain from that experience?
Mm-hmm.
The lesson brings me peace. The identification with the lesson is what brings the peace for me.
Yeah.
So Jonathan Shaw says, peace. 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 I think he's answered the question.
Yeah. It's very interesting because, people can actually, so we're in a world where people experience material happiness, or we perceive that they're happy because they've got material success. So, you got a great job or a business that's making a lot of money. You got the material trappings that, the nice car, the whatnot. So, a lot of people are like, I'm happy. But a lot of these people that you connect with sometimes, they're not at peace. You know what I mean? And sometimes the things that they have to do to maintain the happiness makes them not at peace. You know what I'm saying? So if I got to grind 24/7, I can't see my family, right? Because I have to buy the material things that make me happy, but yet I'm still sad, or, I don't have a good relationship with my family, then I can't be at peace, right? And like Kofi said, I don't think it's an absolute. In the world of balance, you try to balance as much as you can. Why I find this difficult, I'm going to say, is, could I be at peace and not be happy? Right? That's my thing, because, I think my peace is my happiness. I would say that they're kind of entwined in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are the things that the chaos and the stress happens when I'm not at peace, right? So I become unhappy. But if I did have to choose it, I'm gonna play angel's advocate, and I'll just say I'll choose happiness, because things cannot always be peaceful, and I agree with you. In the chaos, in the mixing and in the challenges, often you come out on the other side, with the beauty. So I'll say, you know what, I want to be happy. I'm gonna play my Mary J. Blige and say, I just want to be happy.
All I want to be happy.
This is it. Jonathan Shaw, Juice Man. That's my request. I want to be happy for me, from Mary J.
All right, brother Kofi. I jumped in for a little bit. I didn't want to wreck your groove. I just wanted to have that conversation put out there, but we will
100%
bring it back to you.
100%. There's something that came, was to say, like, what's something you've had to let go to protect your peace? And again, that could be a physical thing, that could be, it could even be a mindset, it could be a job, it could be a relationship, it could be a type of parenting, it could be, not putting it in a box. What's one thing we've had to let go to protect our peace?
Yeah, I can answer this one off the top, because for me, I think it's relevant, and it's something that to this day. So after the pandemic, I decided to walk away from a job in an environment that I loved, working for the rites of passage after 15 years. But the pause in the pandemic allowed me to appreciate the inner peace, and more importantly, as our brother Louis would say, to be a captain of my own ship. So, and specifically my time, right? To do things on a time that matched me as opposed to an external person or entity that will be pushing you. So you got to walk when you're tired. You know what I mean? You've got to eat when you're not hungry. You've got to show up when you need rest. So I would say what I gave up was, the stability of a 9 to 5, the familiarity of 15 years working in one place, and with some good people. Like I worked with Kofi, you know what I mean? So I have to big that up, rites of passage, and all the beautiful people that I worked with. But I again, out of the chaos, which was the pandemic, came the blessings of the peace and the insight, right? To come to that moment and say, I actually want to do this. So that's something I can say has been relevant. And the other side of it for me has been to, spend more time with the family, which is a priority for me. Spend more time in the community intentionally, which is a priority for me. Right? Spend more time with myself, which is also a priority for me. So that's something I definitely know that I gave up, and in order to get that peace.
It's good. Juice Man goes, do you want the Ranji remix or the UK remix of the Mary J. B. Happy?
You know, I need that Ranji mix, man. Come on, give me that Ranji remix. I'm good for that. Yo, Juice Man knows I'll be jumping over my leg in 2 seconds. Give me the Ranji, bro.
For me, the thing that comes off, the first thing off of my alleged mind is relationships. And one of the things I see in my salutations when I'm leaving a show is sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. And sometimes I need, and maybe other people can relate, to get rid of those relations that are not providing me good energy in me and through me. To just, I really much value peace these days. I really, really, really do. And I think for a number of Black men, I think if you're a Black man, probably under 30, you may not value it. But I'm going to say, if you're a Black man, once you start passing 30, you're going to start thinking about, I need peace. I need peace, right? And I think a lot of, I say this to a lot of people now, especially a lot of Black men. I think we've come to a point, we don't want to get more. We just don't want to lose what we have.
I like it.
Right? So I really think that relationships are really important to me, and the ones that are not adding positive to me, the other person, and especially to me, and also in everyday life, I need that peace. And Juice Man says, I got you for the remix.
All right.
Actually, well, I'll ask him something offline. He just came to an idea. So there we go. Keep on going, Mr. Kofi Sadat. You're on fire today.
What about you, Kofi? What about the same question for you?
Yeah, 100%. Wow. The levels of this. If you guys are, wherever you guys are tuning in, share this video if anyone you feel like could benefit from tonight's conversation. I have to say, I would say it actually had to do with a mindset, a certain mindset that had to do with scarcity to a degree, right? In order to maintain my own peace, because that limiting mindset was challenging my ability to move forward. And I'll go even further to say a negative mindset around certain aspects of life, right? Things that I was experiencing in my life relative to being a father, relative to, access to my child and time being spent and stuff like that. and also letting go hurt and anger. Right? Those are other things I can also mention. Having to release those things because, like they say, you know, it's almost like poison to your own self, right? When you're holding on to those things. So in order to even experience what peace was in a time of challenge, I had to let go of those things. And I think for a lot of our brothers out there, like who are dealing with some of those things, it's the heaviest anchor that they're holding on to, that like one conversation could break. Like that's why we talk about the importance of therapy and counseling, and having experiences where you accept your healing, right? Like literally it's just that first step of accepting that I need to heal something. That it could be one talk, one conversation, one experience that changes your whole life experience based upon what you're identifying with, but what you're holding on to, which could literally just be an emotion.
There you go.
That could bring you peace.
I have a question for y'all. Since we're talking about this, I was with my sister yesterday, my DK sister, Essie, and we were talking about the challenge of decluttering. So, you know, as we mentioned, in life, we've accumulated a lot of things, especially material things. You might have a lot of clothes and shoes and, you know, just books and everything like that. So we were talking about that whole challenge, but it makes me think, you know, and I put the question out, you know, what is your process of decluttering things in your life to help you get to a place of peace? So some of the things that you were talking about letting go, but what is your process to say, you know what, I just gotta look at all these things and just declutter them and, you know, make a way for peace.
This is so good because there's a lady on Instagram, Abide in Order, J-Cell, and she asked me to come on her show with a group of people this past Wednesday.
Right.
And she asked me about decluttering and things like that. And she asked, well, you know, she says, do men and dads, they talk to you about decluttering? And I said, a number of the men and fathers that I assist, first of all, they're in situations, they have to do a mental declutter before they even get to the physical declutter.
That's it.
Right. Before they do that, they got to get their mind right before they get to that sort of thing right. And it's interesting. It reminds me of what someone said to me many years ago. This lady said, many times, if your life's a mess, it's because your mind's a mess.
Oh, 100%. I agree. And we all experience that. We know that we're rattled when things, you know, are messy.
Now I forgot your question. I want to answer your question. So, what was your? Sorry, I went on a tangent.
So what is your process for mentally decluttering or spiritually decluttering in order to get to that place of peace?
Well, that's really good because a young man asked me that today, so to speak. So it's just like, for me, when I have those times, there's different depending on the extremity of the situation. Well, it could be anything from taking a shower to spending time with my Creator and asking Him for guidance to make the next. Well, asking my Creator, first of all, what happened? Then also, why did it happen? And then what's the next best thing to do? Not the next thing to do, the next best thing to do. And sometimes some time of silence and meditation to ponder on that, not just jumping out there.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Brother Kofi.
I love that. I mean, man, I love that what you said. Like, do men look at decluttering the same way?
Wow, this is so good. Like, I mean,
that's
wow.
something I think we need to throw that out there for any brothers that are listening right now. Because
there's another episode, man. Men and declutter. Maybe actually we should bring her on and talk about that from a physical aspect, and we talk about the emotional aspect.
There you go. See, you just said it, Dr. Vibe. You just said it.
Wow, that's crazy that this is coming up again.
Yeah, I think
Juice Man says, get rid of everything that no longer serves you. You must make space for new things. Yourself is I like that. Yourself is also prime real estate. Facts.
You got the juice. The juice is dropped in that knowledge.
That is facts.
There you go.
And he says, Doc, he's okay. He's doing all right. That's in the challenge he's doing. But yeah, like that framework didn't just happen. It's taken me years to develop that framework.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Mr. Morris.
It makes me think that there's a couple, I'm going to answer the question, but it makes me think that there's a couple key questions that maybe we should start asking ourselves as men when we connect. Like, you asked him how he was doing. And my thinking as a result of this conversation is asking brothers, how are they doing with their mental clutter, or with the state of their mental clutter, or the things that they're holding on to, for example.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm going to put a question. We can continue on, but I'm going to put a question for the audience on the screen also.
Yeah.
Question for audience. P for peace, H for happiness, or B for both. What are you chasing most right now?
Mm-hmm.
But continue on, Brother Kofi.
Yeah, that mental clutter piece, I think it's similar to what you shared, Dr. Vibe. It's a self-assessment, right? It's asking the question of, like, what is challenging, my state at that point. And you could call it my state of peace, you could call it whatever, but what's challenging me at that point? What is it, right? What's showing up in terms of looking at that mental decluttering piece? And then sometimes the question is, how is it showing up in my body? Like, how is it showing up in my space? How am I experiencing that thing?
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, sometimes it's resting to be able to get some of the answers. So, because I think sometimes, like as men especially too, we think of action, like what action can I take?
Right.
But sometimes for me, like the reflection comes from going within, which means sometimes I have to rest my body, like actually rest, close my eyes, ask for some of the answers sometimes before I go into that restful state. But sometimes you wake up with the answer. Sometimes I wake up with even feeling lighter, and then acknowledging, what is it that I was holding on to? What is it that was affecting me to that point? Yeah. So sometimes it's a buildup of things, right? But being able to self-assess, ask the right questions. How's it showing up in my body? How am I feeling it? Resting can also be part of that experience. And one thing I'll add is being honest with myself, right? Because sometimes we want to paint this picture of whatever the thing is, and oh no, it can't be that. Sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's the one thing we don't want to confront, right? That's right in front of us. That's this buildup of things, but it's been right in front of us all along, and we've been treading on this, as Bob said, treading on this road in a sense, and it's been a buildup of the declutter mentally.
100%.
Yeah. I want to hail up my brother Brandon Hay as well, because there's a question that last time, well, not the last time, but we had met one time, and he asked a question: how is your heart?
I've asked that. That was one of the things I initially asked. And
yeah,
when my early days of assisting men, I would ask men, how's your heart?
Right.
And they would go, I work out all the time. That's not the heart I'm talking about. And they would look at me going, what are you talking about?
But even that, I mean, both at this age and stage, both those angles, the physical and this is both relevant.
100%. 100. Yeah. Now, hey, interesting. We're getting some people answering the poll.
Okay.
So just put in the comments here. BM says B, looking for peace and happiness. Juice Man says P, peace. Well, when we do our live thing, that's going to be one of the questions. That's going to tell a lot. Can you imagine? I can just visually us doing that and just seeing the hands up and just going in just on that question.
100%.
Love it.
How can we be intentional about building environments, right? in our homes and our friendships and our community, etc., where Black men can experience being both peaceful and joyful? How can we be intentional about building environments, you know, where Black men can feel both peaceful and joyful?
I'll start off with that. First of all, you got to be intentional in it for yourself, with yourself first, right? You've got to be the best you can continuously to build that environment within yourself. And then also, you're not going to align with everybody, but align with those who align with you, and have relationships where it's a two-way relationship. You're not always, man, it sounds so much like I was sharing with this gentleman this afternoon, where you are not only getting, but you're giving. You know, I always say to a number of people, say, is there a perfect example? Long story short, I was away for a few days during the holiday season, came back, my next door neighbor, I didn't see him out. And then during the snowstorms, I saw snow was on his car, and he's always out shoveling his driveway. And then I found out that actually the day of that snowstorm, a neighbor came, oh yeah, so-and-so was out doing his driveway. Yeah, I said, I haven't seen him for a while. I said, on Boxing Day, he had a mini stroke, went to the hospital, had a stroke and a heart attack, and had an operation that day.
Wow. Yeah.
So we have to be intentional in ourselves. If we want that thing, we have to plant our own trees in our own garden so they can grow and have the fruit spread onto other garden. And just, I'd say, one step at a time. Pick one small thing to get that started and work on that, and work on getting a little bit better each day, and also have the right supports, because we may want to do these things. Do we have the resources internally and externally to achieve those?
Yeah, I agree with you. We got to check on our brother for sure. You know, check on ourselves, and I think there's an awareness around what brings you peace and joy, right? We often don't, we can talk about the things that stress us, so we know, this and that and ray, but that self-awareness and leaning into those things that bring us, joy and peace. We always come back to this, but I think our fathers, grandfathers, in the next generation before us, they had probably more of an awareness around what brings them joy. So we always joke around, dad's in the basement playing his 1-2 records.
That was my dad.
Yeah, and they knew that, or they're at the rum bar, meeting other men, and so I think that level of awareness, even though that wasn't articulated in that particular sense to us, because you can learn a lot of things without words, but in terms of those actions, I often find myself, like, how do I kind of looking at how do I actually intentionally lean into joy and peace, because there's so much busyness, that we focus on, or I focus on as a Black man, that, that awareness is, every Friday night, bro, I got to go slap some dominoes with the bread in them. And that was like their religion. Friday night, this is where you are. This is what you're doing. Not to, look for dad in that way. That's where dad's at. Yep. Right. So I think that this generation, that would be maybe one of our challenges, is how do we do that individually, but also how do we do it collectively? Right. So, yeah, definitely. I think that's the thing, Kofi, to kind of explore that for my own self. Right. Like that awareness of what is the thing that I'm going to consistently do to lean into that joy and that peace.
Good. Beautiful. What I heard from both of you, in not so many words, but I'm pulling from it to say that part of those places that we're building have to do with us not having to perform. And the reality is we often have to perform. So building spaces where we can actually just be, right? ties into what we're talking about here, which is one of the things I was thinking as a way to do that. And it's like having no agenda. You know, we more recently I was at a celebration of life. I was at a funeral, and I had a conversation with a elder of ours, a sister of ours, Satandwe, and we're talking about this piece around how we enjoy each other's company, and the fact that we haven't been coming together as a community as much. And I was saying I've been attending more celebrations of life and funerals than I have birthday parties or fill in the blank, right? Some kind of other form of celebration. And not to say those are all negative, because in those spaces we're dancing, we were drumming at the recent funeral. We were telling stories. There was a little skit that happened that an elder told this story that made people laugh. But just thinking of the fact that from a perspective of having parents from Trinidad and us having this thing called holding our lime, and the fact that we're limers, I say like some of us are professional at it. We've been able to have joyful, light, happy spaces where we come together and just vibe. That we as a community at sometimes have gotten to a place where we're doing what you just said. We're working so much that when we come together, it's about the work. So I think
said the barbershop used to be that place.
100%.
And he also said what Kofi said is so powerful. I would just add on to it, and I share this a lot with Black men and men in general, aim to have a get-to life, not a got-to life.
100%.
Right? Because time, and Jonathan knows, this goes back to a gentleman that Jonathan and I know named Henry Morris. He lives out in California. And one of the first things he told me is, Dr. Vibe, time never lost a fight. So as we go on in our journey, we value time more and more.
Yeah. Sure.
Just a thought.
100%. Creating spaces where we can come together, where it's not crisis based, it's not solving a problem based. Creating spaces where our homes feel like sanctuaries, or our homes, our spaces that we connect with feel like a space. I think that's why that's why the rum shop is what it was, is because it's like old times. It's Black men coming together to laugh, crack joke, play some kind of game, whether it's cards or dominoes or whatever. But it's because we're putting aside the seriousness at times of life, because they're all going back to homes with children and families and wives, and maybe they didn't have everything that they wanted to provide to their families, but in that space they could just have light conversation and pretend that whatever else that was happening outside wasn't so prevalent. The laughter, the jokes, I think those are safe spaces, right?
Yeah. I wanted to add something that because Jonathan was saying about the barbershop, being that sanctuary, and I think it's very interesting. There's some factors that have happened. The barbershop used to be that place for me, I will say, but then like the juice and like Kofi, I grew out my dreads and my locks, and I really didn't go to the barbershop as much, right? The other part with it is now with the advent of apps, right, where you got to book your appointments. You no longer can just go there and lounge for the day and just talk with folks and wait your turn, complain that I was here before this guy. Now we're on, when I go to the barbershop, I'm on a limited time. Right? So it's just really thinking about that aspect. And how can we bring the barbershop itself? How can we make it be more welcoming again, like it used to be? I was just thinking about that whole aspect, right? So
Yeah, we're living in a time that's become very much transactional and less relational.
This is it.
And that's one of the challenges we have right now. Everything's a transaction. Oh, I need to do it. Go do my screen. Do it. The relational part, that's not of our heritage. Our heritage is not transactional heritage. It's a relational heritage.
Exactly.
Further the way we move to that, from that, more challenging it is. It's like trying to put a round peg in a square hole.
Yep, it's true. 100%. It's true. That's another show, bro. That's another show. No, I'm serious. That's a whole other piece.
Which about the transactional and relational?
Yeah, that's a whole other piece. Like one thing I'm gonna go back to this. One thing I used to appreciate about Chapters when it was open. Chapters. You did not have to go in there and buy a book. True. I think that's what changed the game for them. You literally could go in there, grab a book, a magazine, sit in a chair, read it, grab a coffee or grab a tea, whatever, and not have to make a transaction. And there was no one came up to you and said, "Hey, brother, you gotta
time's up, brother.
Time's up," or you gotta buy. Right. And I always remember that piece, right? And I think that's what we need to start getting back to. Because even from a business standpoint, to be honest with you, if people spend enough time in your shop, they're gonna get something. Or if not, they're gonna tell somebody about it. Sure. You know what I'm saying? Just because the amount of time you spend in there. But I would like to see that environment where, again, like you said, it's more relational and less transactional.
Yeah, man.
Right? So yeah.
Jonathan says father time is undefeated. That is so true. Mr. Morris.
So, oftentimes we do this thing with a kind of like a fire round, right? To kind of throw out questions to a guest. And I just thought, if we were to think about peace as like a mission statement in our lives, how would it read? There's this thing called having like a purpose statement for your life, and the importance of actually connecting to that, because when you feel like you're running off course, it's something that can ground you and bring you back to source. And if we were to do the same concept to say, okay, what would your own personal peace statement sound like? What would it sound like? And even without being able to construct all of it, what are 2 to 3 things that would have to be in there? And I think for me, in answering that question, one of the things would have to be our space, right? Once again, we talked about space, environment would have to be in there. The people would have to be in there. The people that I surround myself with, the people that would be in my space, and the ability to have time to tap into my authentic self would have to be in there. Those are the 3 things that kind of come to mind for me.
Shay.
I would say that, I'm just taking a stab at this, know thyself. If you are not in a place of peace and you can't achieve it yourself, ask for help.
True.
Bam.
Let's underline, ask for help.
Bam.
Yeah.
And when you achieve that peace, celebrate it.
Shay. Yeah, it's a whole lot.
I'll hold off the 3 there.
For me, I would say that peace is like, the wings to a bird, right? Only when you're able to, master flying can you really get to the heights, because otherwise, you're always going to kind of be too grounded. You got to get that peace in order to go up. You know what I mean? and a lot of us just want to stay down. So for me, peace again is something that, you know, is necessary in life in order for me to find my happiness. You know, peace leads to that journey of happiness for me.
There you go. Very fundamental.
Mm-hmm.
You know, acknowledging that, going back to our first part of our conversation was, you know, what did a peaceful day look like? I'm just putting it out there, you know, to the brothers and to the listeners. How can you commit, you know, this week, you know, to creating that peace, you know, within your day, even if it's within a portion of your day, because there's so many brothers that we come across and we've spoken to that you could say they don't feel like they're experiencing peace on a day-to-day basis. So if we were to say, what is something that you can do? What is an action you could take based upon tonight's conversation? What's a state that you can hold for yourself? What's an environment that you can put yourself in or you can create for yourself where you can experience that peace this week? Give yourself that gift. You know, and we're celebrating you beforehand. We're putting that out there as Dr. Vibe talk about the celebration. We're celebrating you from now, knowing that you're going to manifest that and what it can do for you, your children, partner, family, as an extension community, right? But be intentional about creating that space. You know, that's one thing I want to just impart, you know, and just share is like, give yourself that because you deserve it. You know what I mean?
That's a good final word. That is a good final word. So as we wrap up our conversation today, if you want to get a hold of Kofi Sadat, email, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook is there. Also, Mr. Morris, the man with the email and 2 Instagram handles, and on Facebook at Kofi Coach. Myself, if you want to get in touch with me, toplink.cc/the drvibeshow.com. Want to thank everyone who took in time, most important thing you have in their life, to watch this live or on replay. As always, if you want to watch replays of the show, the Dr. Vibe Show website, also Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, Instagram, the DRVIBESH. You know, why am I doing all that? I don't need to. It's already in the link. So I'm doing more than I need to. That's why I created the link. You can watch replays of Black Men on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and the Dr. Vibe Show website. So, and also big thanks to Jonathan Shaw. Thank you for making
every time, man. Every time.
The conversation. We got to get him on. Got to get him on more often because he's a good deep thinker also. So we finish off. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. As I mentioned, sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher and wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both and make it better. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith. Walk good. We'll catch you soon. Good night.
Time that our parents, they're like, I have nothing to teach you. I don't know nothing. And
my dad's at that point now. It says,
that's my point.
But I'm saying, no, Dad, you got lots more to give. You know how cold it is when these 2 brothers in their yard.
You know that. You know that. You don't know that, bro. You know
no
that.
Joke.
I know we all have these things, but you know what? My go-to is this thing.
Wow.
Black book. It's in
Black book.
Men Talk, Black Book.